As a rideshare driver, my job is simple: get riders to their destination efficiently and safely. And the faster I can identify where I'm going, the better the ride. In Houston, that's easier said than done. The city is massive, sprawling, unpredictable, and impossible to memorize street by street. What is possible, however, is mastering the city by regions. Once you understand a region, its streets, its landmarks, its rhythm, every ride gets smoother. You're not just following GPS anymore. You're driving with confidence. Kind of reminds me of that old question: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. In this video, I'm sharing how I identify the neighborhoods inside the loop, the area within Interstate 610. So what is Interstate 610, or as most Houstonians call it, the loop? It's a freeway that wraps around downtown like a concrete belt, about 5 miles out in every direction, creating a ring that's recognized as Houston's core. Everything inside that ring, that's inside the loop. And mastering these neighborhoods means faster pickups, smoother navigation, and happier riders. Now, let's look at the key neighborhoods. Starting at downtown, we'll move clockwise around the loop. Disclaimer: the neighborhood names I use are how I identify them as a rideshare driver, not official city boundaries. Some areas overlap. Some names differ from what residents use. And if your neighborhood didn't make the list, it probably just doesn't generate enough rideshare trips. All right, let's dive in. First up, downtown Houston. It's home to government buildings, major sports arenas, hotels, and nightlife, all packed into a few dense square miles. Major landmarks include the Theater District, Decode Park, and the Toyota Center. And let's not forget the George R. Brown Convention Center, which always keeps drivers busy during big conventions or events. For rideshare drivers, downtown is one of the most important areas to master, if not the most. Leaving the city center, we head north, First Ward. This neighborhood sits at the I-45 and I-10 interchange, near the confluence of White Oak and Buffalo Bayous. A compact, historically industrial zone, now transforming fast. It still feels closely tied to downtown, with old warehouses giving way to new creative spaces and modern lofts. Traditional landmarks like the Harris County Jail and UH Downtown, along with newcomers Post Houston and Sawyer Yards, bring fresh energy to the area and keep drivers moving day and night. From here, we fall on North Main. Although not a neighborhood in itself, this corridor is a rideshare boon, connecting multiple zones and keeping traffic steady day and night. The route starts in First Ward and runs northwest past the North Loop, shadowed by the Metro Rail Red Line. Both sides are lined with small businesses, restaurants, and single-family homes. The perfect mix of old Houston and new growth you see all across the inner loop. Key landmarks along the way include White Oak Music Hall, Spanish Flowers Restaurant, and the Heights Drive-In. Continuing north brings me into North Side. Hemmed in by I-45 on the west and I-69 on the east, North Side is a working-class residential neighborhood, the kind of place where I'm often dropping off workers heading to or from downtown. It's not flashy, but it's steady, and for a rideshare driver, steady is good. Key landmarks include St. Arnold Brewing Company and Love's Travel Stop, two spots every driver recognizes when passing through. Now we have another corridor. Like North Main, Hardy Street isn't really a neighborhood. Technically, it's part of North Side. The reason it's on this list is because of its purpose. It's a connector route that links the Hardy Toll Road at the North Loop directly to Decode Park, home of the Astros, in downtown Houston. For rideshare drivers, it's a reliable shortcut, a quick alternative when the freeways are jammed or when you need to cut through North Houston efficiently. From here, we start moving northeast from downtown, crossing from the north side into one of Houston's oldest areas of growth. This part of the city has deep roots, working-class neighborhoods, rail yards, and industrial corridors that have shaped Houston since the beginning. Our first stop, Fifth Ward. Located just east of I-69 and north of Buffalo Bayou, This is one of Houston's oldest and most historic neighborhoods. For rideshare drivers, Lyons Avenue is the main artery through the area. You'll often find yourself picking up or dropping off around schools, community centers, and small businesses. Separating Fifth Ward from the next neighborhood on the list, Kashmir Gardens, is the Union Pacific Englewood Yard. This rail yard is a big advantage for drivers running Uber XL, since it's one of the few places designed specifically for group pickups. For rideshare drivers, this area brings consistent trips, mornings and afternoons, often to and from nearby job sites or industrial zones. Kashmir Gardens itself is a mostly working-class neighborhood. From here, we start moving east of downtown Houston into a region long shaped by industry, shipping, and working-class neighborhoods. This is where Houston's history as a port city really shows. Rail yards, warehouses, and refineries define much of the landscape. Our first stop, Denver Harbor. Located just east of Fifth Ward, this neighborhood sits south of the Union Pacific Englewood Yard. It's a working-class community, known for its family-owned shops and old-school taquerias that give Houston's east side its flavor and character. The major highlight here is its role as a gateway to the Port of Houston. For rideshare drivers, this means steady, no-nonsense trips, workers heading to shifts, early morning commutes, and afternoon rides along Clinton Drive, McCarty, and Wayside. East of Denver Harbor lies Pleasantville, near the East Loop, the last neighborhood inside the loop on Houston's east side. Pleasantville is small and tight-knit, surrounded by trucking routes and industrial zones. It's one of the few places here that still feels like old Houston. For drivers, Pleasantville means home pickups and drop-offs, often early mornings or late evenings, workers heading to or from their shifts. And the landmark you can't miss, the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, a reminder you're deep in Houston's east side. Now we're starting back at downtown, and just east of it, we have Edo, short for East of Downtown. Once home to Houston's original Chinatown, Edo has transformed into one of the city's go-to destinations for food, nightlife, and events. The major landmark here is Shell Energy Stadium, home of the Houston Dynamo and Dash, guaranteed surge zone during games. For rideshare drivers, this area is a hot spot. You'll find steady traffic all day and night, from lunch crowds and happy hours to late-night bar runs. Historically, Edo was part of our next neighborhood, Second Ward, one of Houston's oldest and most storied communities. Located just southeast of downtown, Second Ward is the historic heart of the East End. Buffalo Bayou marks its northern edge. To the south, the Gulf Freeway. And further east, I-610. For drivers, demand flows steady along Navigation, Canal, Harrisburg, and Polk, all arteries feeding straight into downtown. Second Ward is layered with culture, old churches, small businesses, and local parks standing right beside new cafes, breweries, and bars. And if there's one landmark every Houstonian knows here, it's Ninfa's on Navigation, a must-stop for locals and visitors alike. Moving further southeast, we reach Gulf Gate, right at the crossroads of the Gulf Freeway and the South Loop. The name comes from the original Gulf Gate Shopping Center, one of Houston's very first malls. The mall's long gone, but the name stuck. Today, Gulf Gate is a busy retail corridor. Big box stores, restaurants, and service centers packed along the interchange. For drivers, Gulf Gate is steady business. Trips flow all day. Commuters heading to work, retail runs, food deliveries, and shoppers hopping between stores. It's not a nightlife zone, but it doesn't need to be. Gulf Gate stays active from morning to evening. For drivers, that's gold. From here, we move south of downtown Houston, into a region defined by history, education, and community. This is where Houston's cultural roots and modern growth meet. Home to some of the city's oldest neighborhoods, major universities, and world-renowned medical institutions. For rideshare drivers, the southern sector offers balance, a mix of student rides, commuter traffic, and nightlife pickups that keep things steady around the clock. Our first neighborhood, 3rd Ward. Just south of downtown, 3rd Ward stretches wide, bounded by I-45 on the east, State Highway 288 on the west, and the I-610 South Loop further down. It's one of Houston's largest and most active areas inside the loop. For drivers, 3rd Ward is prime territory. Steady rides all day, from students on campus to church events and nightlife. Key landmarks include Texas Southern University, the University of Houston, and the Emancipation Avenue corridor, all major pickup and drop-off points that keep the area moving. Next, we have Midtown, bordered by the Pierce Elevated to the north, I-69 to the east and south, and Spur 527 on the west. This is one of Houston's busiest crossroads. For rideshare drivers, Midtown is always active, from early morning commuters to late-night bar crowds. It's dense, walkable, and full of restaurants, apartments, and nightlife, which means constant trip requests and quick turnarounds. Key landmarks include Houston City College, the Wheeler Transit Center, and Midtown Park, all solid pickup spots during the day and into the evening. Houston isn't exactly known as a tourist city, but if there's one place you'll actually find them, it's here. Continuing south from Midtown, we reach the Museum District, one of Houston's most scenic and cultural areas, often serving as the backdrop for wedding and quinceañera photo shoots. Bounded by Highway 288 on the east, Main Street and Montrose Boulevard on the west, and Herman Drive through the center, this neighborhood blends calm park space with busy traffic corridors. Key landmarks include the Children's Museum, the Museum of Fine Arts, Miller Outdoor Theater, and of course the Houston Zoo. Now, if we're talking medical tourism, that's a whole different story. Next up, the Texas Medical Center, or simply the Med Center. Located directly south of the Museum District, the Med Center is the largest medical complex in the world, practically a city within a city. Bounded by State Highway 288 on the east, Main Street on the west, Cambridge to the north, and the Astrodome area to the south, it's a dense cluster of hospitals, research buildings, and universities. For rideshare drivers, this is one of Houston's most active pickup and drop-off zones. Patients arriving from Bush and Hobby airports for treatment make up a significant part of that activity, which means longer, more lucrative airport runs mixed with the usual short hospital-to-hotel trips. Mornings and late afternoons are especially busy, as hospital staff, patients, and visitors are constantly on the move. You'll also find a steady stream of hotel pickups nearby, as many families stay close for treatment or appointments. Key landmarks include Texas Children's Hospital, MD Anderson Cancer Center, Houston Methodist, and the VA Medical Center. Moving south from the medical center, we reach the last major stop inside the loop, the Astrodome area. If the Med Center is Houston's nerve center for healthcare, this zone is pure spectacle and sport. It's the southernmost point of Houston's inner core and one of the most recognizable zones in the city. This stretch runs between Main Street and Highway 288, right along the I-610 South Loop. For rideshare drivers, the Astrodome area is gold. Game days, rodeo season, and big-name concerts mean nonstop surge pricing and long-distance trips. And because this is also a residential area, many of the people who work in the medical center live nearby. So even when there's no big event, you'll still find steady commuter rides. Key landmarks include NRG Park, the Dr. Pepper Distribution Center, and Fannin South Station, the southern end of the Metrorail Red Line. Like North Main, South Main isn't a neighborhood. It's a corridor, a major diagonal artery that links some of Houston's busiest zones. Starting in downtown, South Main slices through Midtown, the Museum District, the Texas Medical Center, and lands in the Astrodome area, making it one of the most vital stretches inside the loop. For rideshare drivers, South Main is a boon, lined with businesses and residences on both sides of the corridor. It's also where you'll find the yellow lot entrance, the main access point for rideshare pickups and drop-offs serving NRG Park. From here, we start moving southwest, where the city shifts from institutions and stadiums to neighborhoods built around comfort, community, and everyday life. This part of Houston blends campus energy with suburban calm, a stretch defined by tree-lined streets, local shops, and steady daytime traffic. For rideshare drivers, the Southwest Side means reliable movement. Students, residents, and professionals connecting between universities, parks, and quiet residential zones. Our first neighborhood, Rice Village. Located just west of the Texas Medical Center, Rice Village is one of Houston's most walkable outdoor shopping areas inside the Loop. It's a mix of boutiques, restaurants, and bars, adjacent to Rice University. It's a hot spot, steady all day with short trips, food deliveries, and weekend nightlife pickups. And when Rice has a home game, the area floods with fans, students, and visitors heading to bars and restaurants. Key landmarks include 60 Vines, 24-Hour Fitness, and the Rice Graduate Apartments. Before we continue, let's pause for a quick note about Meyerland, Bel Air, and Uptown. For the most part, these neighborhoods sit at or just outside the Loop, with portions of their borders crossing in. We won't dive into them in this video, but it's worth mentioning that they're major destinations. Each of these areas draws commuters, shoppers, and visitors moving in and out throughout the day. So while they're mostly outside the Loop, for drivers, they still feel very much like part of the city's inner rhythm. This is best exemplified by our next area, Braeswood. Now, Braeswood isn't really a rideshare hotspot on its own, but it's an important corridor that funnels a ton of traffic between the Medical Center and Astrodome area to Meyerland and Bel Air and back again. That flow mainly happens along two major roads, North Braeswood and South Braeswood, which follow the length of Braes Bayou as it winds through the neighborhood. And speaking of the bayou, it's the area's defining landmark, cutting right through this corridor and giving the neighborhood its name. Next up, and the last neighborhood in the Southwest, is West University, or as many locals call it, Westview. Bordered by Rice Village on the east, Braeswood to the south, Bel Air to the west, and Greenway Plaza to the north, this tidy neighborhood is relatively quiet, with tree-lined streets, parks, and schools scattered throughout. For rideshare drivers, Westview brings a mix of rides. Professionals commuting to nearby business districts, residents heading to the airports, mostly hobby, and locals heading to the theater district, the museum district, or Houston's trendier restaurants and bars. Key landmarks include Cleburne Cafeteria, Randall's Grocery Store, and Milk and Cookies, small but distinct markers that let you know you've crossed into Westview. Returning to downtown, we begin moving west, into a stretch of neighborhoods defined by contrast. This western region is where artistic enclaves meet corporate towers. Historic communities sit beside luxury estates, and some of Houston's most iconic streets tie everything together. Our first stop, Montrose. Bounded roughly by Allen Parkway and West Gray on the north, Taft Street, Bagby Street, Spur 527 on the east, US 59, I-69 on the south, a Shepherd Drive on the west. Montrose sits right in the middle of everything, blending naturally with Midtown, the Museum District, Greenway, River Oaks, and Fourth Ward. Montrose is one of Houston's most colorful and eclectic neighborhoods, a mix of historic homes, art galleries, thrift shops, and some of the city's best restaurants and nightlife. And for rideshare drivers, that means it's always moving, from brunch rushes to bar hopping and dinner crowds. Key landmarks include the University of St. Thomas, Numbers Nightclub, and Hugo's. Next up, Greenway Plaza, or simply Greenway. This is Houston's original mixed-use business district, a blend of office towers, apartments, hotels, and restaurants tucked between US 59 and the West Loop. Bounded roughly by Shepherd Drive on the east, West Park Drive on the south, the I-610 West Loop on the west, and West Alabama on the north, with Richmond Avenue cutting straight through the middle, it's a busy business hub that draws riders from all over the city. It's also one of the key entrance and exit points for the I-69 HOV Express Lane, moving people in and out of the region throughout the day. For rideshare drivers, Greenway is a must-have in your arsenal, one of those places that generates steady trips from morning to evening. Many visitors stay in the area's hotels, which means frequent airport runs, especially to Hobby Airport, along with rides for business travelers heading to meetings or conventions. When a workday ends, those same visitors and residents often head to nearby spots like Kirby's Ice House, El Tiempo Cantina, and Twin Peaks to watch a ball game, all popular hangouts that keep the area buzzing well into the evening. Key landmarks include Lakewood Church, Costco Wholesale, and the Regal Edwards Greenway Movie Theater. Next up, we have 4th Ward, arguably Houston's most historic neighborhood. Located just west of downtown, it's roughly bordered by West Gray to the south, Taft Street to the west, and Allen Parkway to the north. What was once a quiet residential district has seen a wave of redevelopment. New townhomes, restaurants, and bars rising alongside century-old churches and original brick streets. And as more spots open, people from nearby neighborhoods now come into 4th Ward for dining, drinks, and nightlife. A major highlight here is Buffalo Bayou Park, forming the neighborhood's northern edge and drawing joggers, cyclists, and dog walkers from all over the city. For rideshare drivers, that means steady trips from every direction. Key landmarks include the Federal Reserve Bank, Carnegie Vanguard High School, and Tony's Corner Pocket. Finally, for the west, we reach River Oaks, the crown jewel of Houston affluence inside the Loop. Bordered by Shepherd Drive on the east, West Alabama on the south, Memorial Park on the north, and the I-610 West Loop, where it meets Uptown on the west. But the mansions themselves aren't rideshare hotspots. Westheimer Road is what changes everything. Running the length of River Oaks, it funnels constant traffic, making this one of Houston's busiest rideshare corridors. On the eastern end sits River Oaks Shopping Center. Moving west, you pass West Avenue, Highland Village, and finally the sleek River Oaks district, each packed with restaurants, boutiques, and nightlife that keep rides flowing from morning through the night. Key landmarks include the iconic River Oaks Theater, Lamar High School, and Tootsie's, the legendary department store. Returning once again to downtown, we now move northwest, the final stretch of our loop around Houston's inner core. This part of the city blends history and growth. Older homes, warehouses, and rail lines giving way to new development and nightlife corridors. Our first stop is 6th Ward. Although it may feel like part of downtown, 6th Ward is actually the only one of Houston's original wards that doesn't border it directly. Bounded roughly by Houston Avenue on the east, Memorial Drive on the south, Sawyer Street on the west, and Washington Avenue on the north, this neighborhood sits in a quiet pocket just slightly northwest of the city's core. For rideshare drivers, 6th Ward means short, consistent trips, downtown commuters in the mornings, and nightlife traffic spilling over from Washington Avenue after dark. Key landmarks include the Houston Municipal Courts and Glenwood Cemetery, two fixtures that mark the eastern and western edges of this historic area. Our next stop is Washington, one of Houston's liveliest corridors, drawing crowds from morning through late night. Bordered by 1st and 6th Ward on the east, Memorial Parkway on the south, Westcott Street on the west, and I-10 on the north, this corridor has become a major shopping and entertainment destination. For rideshare drivers, Washington means steady work around the clock. On its northern edges along I-10, big box stores and shopping plazas generate daytime retail traffic. Coffee shops, brunch spots, and fitness studios keep days lively. At night, the corridor shifts gears along Washington Avenue. Bars, restaurants, and music venues draw a crowd from all over the city, dominating the late-night rideshare rhythm. Key landmarks include Rockefeller's Events Center, Bayou Heights Beer Garden, and El Tiempo Cantina. Before we continue northwest, we take a quick pause to mention Rice Military. The neighborhood itself isn't a rideshare hotspot, but it is important for one reason: location. Rice Military sits directly between the Washington Corridor, Memorial Park, and Buffalo Bayou Park. Because of that, you'll find yourself driving through this area constantly. It's less about pickups and drop-offs, and more about its role as a key connector between some of the busiest zones inside the loop. Continuing northwest, we arrive at the Heights. If the Texas Medical Center is a city within a city, this neighborhood feels like a small town within Houston. Bounded roughly by North Main and I-45 to the east, I-10 to the south, Durham to the west, and I-610 to the north, this area stretches across a broad swath of Houston's northwest inner loop. Within these boundaries, charming bungalows, front porches, and walkable blocks have drawn in a wave of white-collar professionals to what was once a traditionally blue-collar district. For rideshare drivers, the Heights offers steady demand from morning to late night. Downtown commuters, lunch runs, school pickups, dinner traffic, and late-night bar crowds. One thing drivers will appreciate: there's an I-45 HOV/express lane entrance and exit right at North Freeway, giving the neighborhood fast access to destinations across North Houston. Key landmarks include Heights Mercantile, the Heights Waterworks, and the White Oak Drive Entertainment Corridor. The final two neighborhoods in our Inside the Loop tour are Eureka Junction and Shady Acres. Traditionally, both have been lumped in with the Greater Heights, but with all the infill development, mid-rises, bars, new apartments, and dog-friendly patios drawing in a wave of young professionals, each has grown into its own identity, and both have become rideshare hotspots. One reason is the steady two-way traffic. Both neighborhoods draw riders coming from downtown and uptown, making them busy destinations for commuters, nightlife, and weekend crowds. First up is Eureka Junction. The neighborhood bounded roughly by White Oak Bayou to the east, I-10 to the south, I-610 to the west, and 12th Street to the north. Its name comes from the old town of Eureka, which once occupied this area before the rail yards grew into a major railroad junction where several lines came together, a role the tracks still play today. For rideshare drivers, you'll get both pickups and drop-off from the new apartments, the side street bars, and the restaurants that anchor the area, plus plenty of tight turns on streets that were never built for today's traffic. Landmarks include Dona Letty's Restaurant, Prime 131 Steakhouse, and the Silver Eagle Distributors Facility, whose massive warehouse presence leaves no doubt about which neighborhood you're in. Last stop on our Inside the Loop tour, Shady Acres. Bounded roughly by Durham to the east, West 15th Street to the south, White Oak Bayou to the west, and the I-610 North Loop to the north, Shady Acres has transformed into one of Houston's busiest nightlife districts. Narrow residential streets press right up against clusters of patios, bars, and food trucks, all buzzing well into the evening. For rideshare drivers, this neighborhood is a consistent high-volume hotspot. You'll find steady activity around the bars on 20th, the patios along 23rd, and the late-night hangouts near Beale and Ella. With visitors streaming in from both downtown and uptown, the trip flow stays constant, making Shady Acres one of the most reliable earnings pockets inside the loop. Landmarks include Net Bar Shady Acres, Shady Acres Saloon, and a longtime favorite, La Hacienda Escondida Mexican restaurant. And that wraps up our Inside the Loop tour. If you're a traveler, a Houston resident, or especially a rideshare driver, I hope this guide helped you learn the city a little better. If I missed your neighborhood or got a boundary wrong, drop a comment below and let me know. Should your area be on the list? I'm always updating my knowledge, and your input helps make Houston easier for everyone to navigate. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who drives Houston every day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next ride.